Rebecca.
Hi, Jillian.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Doing pretty good. So I'm glad to see you back in here. I'm glad you came back.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to start off going back to like our intake, which was our first session. You shared a little bit about some of like the issues that you've been experiencing at home, specifically with your sister and your parents. So can you talk to me more about that? Like, what brings you in today? Like,
just like my older sister has always been like, it almost seems like to me she's the favorite child, that she always is like put above me, that I'm always being compared to her. Like anything I do is, well, this person can do this better, or she can do this better, so why aren't you doing it? And then she got an acceptance letter to Harvard a couple days ago, and my parents were so excited, and now I feel this pressure, like, oh my gosh, if I don't get accepted, like, my parents are gonna be mad, they're not gonna feel that I'm worth it, or that I'm just not good enough to be their child.
Yeah. So, when she got this letter, and the big news came out, what were some of the feelings that you experienced, like, right there in that moment?
At first, I was like, after a while, I was really happy for her, because she worked really hard for this. But at first, like, my parents just seemed super excited that she got into Harvard, because it's a big accomplishment to get into Harvard.
Yeah.
And so, at first, it was hard for me, because now I feel like now, like, I need to live up to that standard. Like, I have to go to Harvard now. I have to do the same thing that she does, because if not, I'm not as good as her, or I am not worthy to be like a child of my parents. So after a while, like, I felt happy for her because she worked really hard, but like I still have that feeling of resentment, like, and jealousy of like I want to be that favorite child.
Yeah. So just some mixed feelings I'm hearing there. You're happy because obviously it is a big accomplishment, and you're happy for your sister, but also this feeling that you don't quite measure up to her, and the expectations that your parents seem to have, and almost like this fearfulness that you'll never measure up to your sister.
Yeah.
Would you say that's right?
Yeah, I always feel like I'm going to college in a few years, so I feel like now they're expecting me to do just as well as her, and for me to be like a perfect child, and I'm not as smart as her. I'm not probably going to get into Harvard, but I'm still smart in my own way, and just that feeling of I'm different, but I don't know if they'll accept me for being different.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I want to talk a little bit about your relationship with your sister, because I know you've mentioned in the past that it's been a little bit rocky, because there is some of that competitiveness there between each other and trying to level up to her standard. What does your relationship with her look like this past week? Like, how's your interactions been with her?
When she was really nervous for when didn't know she was getting to Harvard, and when she's nervous, like, she lashes out at people. So if I would do something, she would start yelling at me, and so like I would like try and get out of her way and stay. But now she's in the Harvard, like, that's all she talks about, and sometimes I feel like she's putting it over me, that she's just saying like, oh, look at this, look what I've done, I'm better than you, and just putting herself above me. And I don't know if that's her feeling on it, but to me it feels like she's just like saying that I'm not as good as her.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you're kind of feeling inadequate to her, and you just feel like you're not good enough as your sister. So how's it been with your parents this past week? And
they were really excited when she got it, and like they weren't really thinking, like, 'cause they have so much other stuff going on, but like now that like it's happened, like they just keep telling their friends like how my older sister got into Harvard, like that's such a big deal, and they keep talking about it. And sometimes I'm like, I feel like I get left behind, like I'm the odd child out that I'm just like kind of tagging along while my parents like showing off my older sister, like she's a star in our family, and then I'm just there.
Yeah. So it seems like there's this common theme that you're experiencing. Would you say not being good enough? So I'm just going to write that up there. Not being good enough. So if you could just list out for me a bit, what are some of the specific areas that you don't think you measure up to your sister in? If you just want to write those on the board for me.
I'd say like these are like my main three.
Smart, talent, and looks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are definitely some good places to start. So let's talk about that a little bit. Tell me how it feels to consider yourself not as smart as your sister. What does that look like?
Like if she went through the same program that I'm going through right now, and like she got straight A's and she's like really really smart. Like she had a 4.0 GPA coming out of high school, and I am smart. Like I have like a 3.5 or something like that. So that's pretty good, but it's caused a lot of anxiety to the point of like I look at a grade and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have an A. My parents aren't going to be as happy. Like just feeling that even if it's like a really hard class and I don't get an A, like just not feeling happy about it. Like everything has to be perfect, kind of thing. So dealing with that is really tough because it's just like having to live in her shadow. I'm like trying to not. I'm like not as smart as her, but I am smart in my own way. So
yeah. So definitely feeling like there's a difference between academic wise, and you mentioned some of that anxiety you feel when looking at your grades and almost being fearful of what your parents will think if your grades aren't as good as your sister.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a hard way to live and look at. Let's talk about talent a little bit. How do you feel you're not good enough in the talent area?
Like she's really good at everything. Like she very easily picks up something. So if you give her like a challenge, she can pick it up super quickly. Where like if you ask her to play a sport, like play a pickup game of soccer, she's very good at just picking it up super quickly and hanging with everyone. Whereas I have to take a little bit more time to get a hold of the concept and like being able to do that. And like she's very talented. Like she's able to sing. She's very artistic. Like she's just jack of all trades in a woman's sense. And I like can't sing as well. I'm a good artist, but like besides that, I'm like that's the only talent I really have, like majorly. So
yeah. So you definitely feel like she has a lot more talents or abilities, and she can just pick up things fast like that.
Yeah.
And you feel like you have one area where you're really good at, and she's like has a broad range of talents.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely difficult. Now let's talk about looks a little bit. How's that been?
It's hard because like in high school, she was always the person that was like everyone was asking her out. Like she'd have like if she didn't really date through high school. She only dated one guy, and they weren't like super serious, but guys would just come up to her and be like, hey, you want to go out on a date? And so she would always be around guys, and I would always be that third wheel that was just like she's tagging along. Like I'm her little sister. So just tagging along, and like when it was by myself, like no guys wanted to hang out with me. So in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm not pretty enough. Like I don't have like all the prettiness that she has. Like she has really blonde hair, and I have brown hair, and so like figuring out like trying to figure out like why a guy doesn't like me, and thinking it's my looks and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's definitely hard, and I think it's a very natural thing for girls, especially sisters, to kind of be caught up in comparing looks and looking at what society deems as beautiful. And so, yeah, that's definitely hard. So, Becca, I'm kind of hearing a common theme of this belief that you're not, like, good enough. You don't measure up to your sister. And I think that all comes down to a basic concept of self-worth. And so I kind of want to draw out a little metaphor because how we view ourselves and how we see our worth really impacts and affects every area of our life and our family and how we view others. So just going to draw a little tree here with the roots. So these roots right here, represent like our inner thoughts, our inner worlds, the beliefs we have about ourselves, if we believe we're good enough, smart enough, special. So these are all, it's our inner world. And so that inner world then connects to the soil. And our soil is really, it really plays off on like how we think others see us, and how these like interactions are formed. So beliefs about others and interactions. So how we view ourselves in our inner world definitely plays a part in how we think other people perceive us, because how we perceive ourselves definitely affects what we think others think about us. And so then the trunk right here will just be our intentions. And so I find the way we view ourselves down here definitely plays a part in our motives behind doing things. So if we don't think we're pretty enough, we try to overcompensate in different areas of our lives, and with other people. If we don't think we're smart enough, there is that anxiety when we see grades and we see assignments coming up. So it really fuels our intentions behind the actions and behaviors we do with other people. And then finally, the leaves and branches are the results. And so it all piles up our beliefs about ourselves, which leads to how we think others see us and how we interact with others, because if we don't see ourselves as good enough, there's definitely some anxiety there when we deal with other people. And then our intentions behind what we do, and that ultimately leads to the results of how we feel and how our life looks overall. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense, because a lot of times like I feel like with the looks and stuff, because I don't feel like I'm pretty enough, I like start overcompensating for stuff. Like I'll wear like midriff exposing tops, or I'll be like super loud to get guys' attention. I'll be like really flirty. So I'll do stuff to get their attention, rather like because I don't think I look pretty enough. So I'll do stuff that's like not slutty, but just like trying to get their attention in like bad ways, kind of thing. And that leads to like sometimes like really bad results.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So talk to me a little more about that. What would you say your overall view of yourself is? Because I do recognize that there kind of is an issue with how you see yourself and your worth, especially in your sister and your family relationship. So
yeah, and like on my, I think it's like it's hard like on like my Instagram, like you see all these like celebrities that like all have like perfect skin and all that, and I have like my high school acne and like not as like thin as these girls and stuff like that. So like seeing that almost makes me feel like they're liked because of that, and that's why like people don't like me, because they think that I'm not worthy of their attention because I don't look as pretty or as like the girls that are in magazines and stuff like that.
yeah.
And so like sometimes it leads to like self-harm, and so like not even like self-harm, but just like me being upset about myself and like hating my body because of it.
Yeah, it's definitely hard. So yeah, and we are blasted with all these images. Yeah, and these images of beauty that we see constantly portrayed, yeah, it definitely messes with how we perceive ourselves and how we look at our bodies and the way around us. So my question to you is, where do you hope to be? If you see yourself in 3 months, 5 months, because you're obviously coming in dealing with some pretty hard stuff, looking at your sister and not thinking you're good enough for your family and not measure up to her. So where would you like to see yourself in 5 months after we're done meeting and going through these sessions?
I want to start like not having those doubts about like me being good enough, and like starting to believe in myself and like how I'm like worthy of this type of stuff. And like it might like just being able to like if my parents start putting me against my sister, like measuring me up to her, like not letting that bother me, because I am a person that I know they love, but sometimes it's really hard to see. So like being in a place where I am just able to like wash that away and be like, okay, I am worthy no matter who they try and measure me up, because it's like my own measuring stick. Like I'm only as good as what I do, not as what someone else does.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great way to think about it. So what I want you to do now, and this might be hard and take as much time as you want, but on this side, because obviously it's easy to point out our faults and see what's wrong with us and where we don't measure up to our family. Misbelief about how you're not good enough, like not as your sister, is definitely strong. So if you could just list out a few positive aspects of who you think you are, it could be anything.
I'm usually like a super like joyful person. Like I'm always like smiling, especially when I'm with my friends, like just having a good time. I'm like super athletic, and I like playing sports, so that's really fun. I think I have like, I'm like semi-smart. I'm like smart, so I'll put that down. I'm like smart, but not smart as my sister, and that's pretty much it. Like the joyful one's pretty fun, like the most important one, because all my friends always say like I'm the one that picks them up after a hard day, and like just always being there to like make someone laugh, not in a bad way, but just like in a good way, knowing how to pick them up from a bad day and just make them happy again.
Yeah, for sure. That's great. Yeah, so definitely the joyful one is a big one for you. And it seems like you really like people and you like making them happy. And so athletic, tell me a little bit about that. Like what sports do you play?
I really like playing basketball and volleyball. The girls on the team are really nice, and like I met my best friends on the team. So I'm able to like, when I go there I feel like just at ease, because I'm like, when I like play I can just like let all my stress go in that, and I get to be with my friends and stuff, and that's really fun because I think I'm pretty good. Like I've always made varsity ever since like 9th grade, so I have like a really good team, so that's really, really good fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. And lastly, smart. And you said something interesting. You said not as smart as your sister, but just talk me through what smart looks like to you, what it means to you.
Like she's smarter at she's better at writing papers and stuff. Like she's like a better English person. Like she's very good at like wording stuff. But I'm not as good as that. Like I would have a hard time transferring what I think onto my paper, so it just comes out in this big jumbled mess. But I'm like really good with math. Like I have people who are even in like upper classes coming to me to ask for help because I like am able to pick up numbers really quickly. Yeah. So even my teacher has like pointed out like how good I am at math, and like if people need help they come to me for math.
Yeah, that's great. So we're running out of time here, but I just want to leave you with maybe like something that you could do this week to really challenge this belief that you're not good enough. So what are some ways that you think you could focus on the positive aspects throughout this week about who you are instead of really looking at your sister?
Just like focusing on like the stuff that I do, like instead of focusing on like her being smart, like focus on what I do really well.
Yeah. And
like for like the talent thing, like focusing not even like on my accomplishments like in a bad way, but just like looking how far I've come, like doing really well in that. And then like for looks it's gonna be really hard, but just believe, like slowly starting to believe like I'm okay the way I am, and not trying to like overplay myself and just trying to be subdued and stuff like that.
Yeah, so definitely focusing on what you think is good about yourself. Do you think we could do something where like just say every day when you get up in the morning you write down one positive aspect about yourself on a piece of paper, and then we can talk about it next week? Sound good?
Yeah, it sounds really good.
Yeah, I think that'll definitely be a helpful tool to kind of refocus your self-worth and challenge this idea of you not being good enough. Because the reality is we're all special. You definitely have positive aspects about you, and so I look forward to talking about your strengths with you next week.
Thanks.
Yeah, so thank you for coming in today, Becca.
Yep,
I hope you have a great week.
Slide out of the background.